The last video ended with the phrase, in an ideal world. Now I used that phrase very deliberately because you and I can live in our ideal world. Very often when I suggest to people that we can in fact live in an ideal world, very often when I ask my clients what are the things that you would want in your life in an ideal world, the response is, well, we don't live in an ideal world. But that is exactly the same kind of response that equates to, oh, I am suffering from stress. Stress, like the lack of idealness in our lives, is simply a perspective. It is simply our way of seeing our world, our life at this moment in time. We all know, and if you don't, you should know at this stage, because there's enough on this website about it, that stress, being an entirely personal thing, is something that we do to ourselves. Not living in our ideal world is something that we do to ourselves as well. Now, we do have an excuse. Whether it's a good excuse as responsible adults or not is debatable, but the excuse is that, unfortunately, for better or for worse, we have a body of stored knowledge that we carry around with us that enables us make sense of our lives moment to moment. Now, the fact that we learned this stored knowledge many years ago and are now applying it to make sense of the present normally renders our attempts to make sense of the present a nonsense. But of course, the other problem that this stored knowledge brings with it is the extent to which it constrains our ability to set our goals. It constrains our ability to think about the things we would really like to have. In fact, we're actually hamstrung and hog-tied by our own normal way of thinking. And therefore, very often when I ask clients what goals would they like to achieve, they use their normal thinking mind and their stored knowledge to set those goals. And that distances us from our innate ability to live in our ideal world. When I speak of an ideal world, I'm not talking about daydreaming, wishful thinking, positive thinking, or being completely unrealistic. I'm talking about a state of mind, a perspective on the ordinary of our everyday lives, which becomes extraordinary when we change the way we look at it. I am talking about peppering your life with the things that you want. Far too often, the ordinary humdrum treadmill of everyday life means that the things that we really like doing get pushed into the background. But they are the important things. The things that make us feel alive, the things that give us flow, the things that bring us into the zone, the things that give us a word that unfortunately is often only used in my workshops and rarely used in the real world on an everyday basis, the things that give us joy. What gives you joy? What are the things that you would like in your life in an ideal world? Because I'm telling you, you can have it. It all depends on your point of view.